Hi, hello guys, my name is Mia Marie, and you are currently watching my Synastry Compatibility series where I go through all the 12 signs, sun signs, and how they get along. Now, as a general disclaimer, we reference so much more than just the sun sign for compatibility, but the importance of the sun and understanding someone's sun sign and accepting it and supporting it is that the sun sign describes the motives, the behaviors, the experiences that contribute to someone's sense of sanity. So we're not talking so much about what someone needs emotionally or how they flirt or what makes them great in bed, all of those very, romantic topics. We're talking about how to support someone's vitality, someone's sense of self, and someone's healing human journey. So keep in mind that this is just a gentle introduction, and you can get so much more by booking a session with me or another fantastic astrologer. I hope you enjoy. Someone who is born with the sun in Virgo is here to purify. Now, it doesn't always come off that way, and if you don't have a trained eye or ear, you can feel judged and criticized when a Virgo is around, because what they do, it's like their love language. They listen to you, they watch what you're doing, and they point out what's not working, what you're doing wrong, and what you can do better. And the reason why they want to do this in every area of their life, not only towards their partner, is because when you fix all of the things that are wrong, then you are often left purified, clean, clear. You're able to think clearly. You're able to connect with soul. There's often a spiritual component to a Virgo. They're the opposite of Pisces, and they are big on acts of service. That's often their love language. They have a huge focus on health, routines, systems. They are quick thinkers. It can be really hard to calm their body down at the end of the night. That's how it manifests. It's ruled by Mercury, and so they have an amazing capacity to analyze information and to synthesize information, but it can sometimes manifest in the nervous system as being like jittery or on edge. They can kind of sleep with one eye open. Virgo is the second earth sign, and so it takes Taurus's competence, skill set, and confidence, self-confidence, and it goes, okay, how can we apply this to serve more people? How can we market this? How can we sell this? What systems do we need to have in place? What processes does this require? They like to cut labor in half, but they're also very laborious at the same time. They enjoy working and they like being of service, but they just want to cut the steps in half. They like hacking things, taking shortcuts. They will study information. As I said, they're ruled by Mercury, and so they'll study patterns until they have them mastered and figured out, and then they'll find a way to advance the system. Pure, undisturbed Virgo is so neat and tidy. Now, I know very many Virgos who are a complete it's chaos. In their mind, it's chaos, but it's because of the other placements. Pure Virgo will color coordinate things. Everything will have a label. Everything has a place. Everything has a home, because that way things run efficiently. If there's stuff on the floor, they can't move as quickly as they want. Now, another side to Virgo is when they're overstimulated. What they will do is they'll turn to Pisces qualities. They will turn to escapist tendencies, and this can manifest in multiple different ways. The most obvious one that I've seen is Virgos can often drink quite heavily when they are overwhelmed. So if you see a Virgo really throwing them back, it's because they are taking on so much, they're doing so much, and they're probably not giving themselves the pat on the back that they deserve. In fact, that is the one thing that they do not do is they accomplish things, and as soon as it's accomplished, they're like, yeah, I was supposed to do that. It wasn't that big of a deal. And so there is never that moment of wow, like they don't have a sense of accomplishment after they do something. They feel like they just have to keep going, and they have a to-do list, and they keep adding to it, and they just keep going nonstop. And so it's really helpful for them, and I'll go into this when I talk about specific signs. It's really helpful for them to have a partner who makes them pause and appreciate themselves. The risk that Virgo runs, where they can kind of get confused, is that they want to be of service, but they oftentimes put themselves in the position of being a servant to a job, to a partner, and it takes multiple experiences of them just running on E before they recognize that there is a way to be available to people and to be helpful and to make an impact but not at the expense of their mental health and their physical well-being. They will do anything for the person that they love. But should they? Like that's the balance. Should they? When I think of Virgo, I think of that movie Holes, and that character who's like, I can fix that. They always show up, I can fix that, I can do that. Oh, gorgeous. So let's talk about some deal breakers as it relates to a Virgo. Virgo is an earth sign. Though it is changeable, mutable, flexible, understanding, empathetic, tolerant, it will not tolerate someone who is duplicitous and untrustworthy. They don't like someone who is unreliable. They won't tolerate, say, someone who has like someone who is like a bee, going from flower to flower. They want commitment. They want loyalty. They want someone who is in it for the long haul. Because they are so dedicated and so loyal, they don't like mind games, and they do not tolerate emotional manipulation. If you're going to be playing those games, they're going to be very quickly disinterested, and they will tell you. They'll be like, you know what? No, you're immature and you have tons of work to do, and they'll list all of the reasons why they can't be with you, and then they'll just walk away. This is not an absolute truism for every Virgo in the world, but from my personal experience, I find that Virgos are always in a job that requires serving the community. And this can manifest as something as simple as like working as a mailman, or being a nurse, or being an esthetician. Like there's some skill that they develop that allows them to be of service to the community. But largely they're in healthcare, or they have a strong interest in health. Like how good is the quality of food that you're eating? How balanced is your diet? They're all over vitality, health. It goes back to like that they're represented by the Virgin, like Mother Teresa, someone who shows up for others, who has like a heart that never gets tired. So I would be curious to see, if your Virgo is in that type of work. Someone who is born with their sun in Pisces has a soul that came to this earth to break down all barriers that stand in the way of oneness. Now, Pisces has a reputation of not having boundaries, or lacking boundaries, or having porous boundaries. And when you hold in mind what their goal is, it kind of makes sense that it's hard for them to throw up that wall, because it flies in the face of what they stand for. They want to bring love and unity to everything. It's a very gentle, loving, accepting soul and energy. Now, this doesn't mean they don't need boundaries, but it means that there's going to be resistance towards them. Once you explain to a Pisces that boundaries exist to protect them and to shield them, it can act as a barrier between people's energy and them. Then they'll be a little bit more on board with the program. Pisces is ruled by two planets, traditionally Jupiter, and modern day says Neptune. So you will find two different types of Pisces characters. A Jupiterian Pisces, it has a similar energy to Sagittarius, where they're expansive and big and larger than life, but it's via their emotions. And they are a little bit more positive than what you would expect. They want to play, they want to have fun. The other Neptunian Pisces is more introverted. The first one is extroverted. This one is introverted. It wants to look on the inner world, not the outer world, and it wants to expand there. And they're a little bit more reserved. They're focused on like their artwork behind closed doors, and their poetry, and the ways in which they love themselves. It's kind of like they take that same energy that Sagittarius would in the external world, and they project it in their home space, in their private life. And with Neptune Pisces, you often see someone who has almost Capricornian expressions, where they fall prey to depression because they get stuck in themselves. They get stuck in their own stories, and the depression manifests. And when depression shows up in someone's life, it's the soul saying, like, I don't want to play this role anymore. I don't want to be involved in this life anymore. And at that point, when you have that awareness, then Pisces can adjust their schedule and use their energy in different ways to erase the depression that they're currently managing. So keep that in mind. Which type of Pisces do you have? A Jupiterian Pisces or a Neptunian? Pisces is a water sign. It's the eldest water sign, but it's also the most sensitive and the most vulnerable. And the easiest way I can explain it is by the symbol for Pisces. It's a fish. A fish has no protective layer. It goes with the flow. It has no choice unless it's swimming upstream, exhausting itself, trying to fight the flow of life. But Scorpio has that stinger. Cancer has the crab shells and those little crabby hands to protect itself. Pisces is out in the open. It is the depository for the collective emotion. Now, they're not going to think about it that way. You're not going to think about it that way. In fact, a lot of what they're processing isn't something that's directly happened to them. Oftentimes, you'll find that when a Pisces is weighed down or they're feeling a strange mood for a reason that they can't explain, it's because of something that's happening out in the world. Now, when this happens, it's important that Pisces meditates, because that is the safest, healthiest way for them to process their emotions. The alternative is that they're paying attention so closely to what's happening. They're paying attention to the mood, the vibes, the smells, the way that you're carrying yourself. They're paying attention to all the things that you aren't saying and try to integrate what you are saying. And it creates this glazed over look as if they're daydreaming. But really, they're collecting so much information that you are not even willingly communicating to them. Now, when this happens, it can create a feeling of overwhelm and they need to leave the room. They are an introverted sign. Specifically, just Sun in Pisces is an introverted sign. And so what it will do in those instances is it will literally escape the room. But then once it's in its own room, it will either meditate and process the emotion, or it will escape through some kind of substance. So smoking, drinking, being on the computer for hours on end, watching TV mindlessly, to the point where they're getting lost though. And so you can create this habit of constant escapism to the point where you're never really rooted or grounded. And so when I say meditation for Pisces, I don't mean, doing yoga, your fingers are like this, you're like, in yoga pants, so religious about your practice. That works too. But what I'm saying is you need to bring yourself into a brain state where you can close the door, sit with yourself, and just feel and rinse. It's this internal process of you letting the waters that don't belong to you just whoosh, go right off your body. So Pisces are mystics. They're mild, right? They go with the flow. Now, because Pisces is a mutable sign, and this is true for all mutable signs, it's equally as important to look at where the sun is placed, like which house it's placed in, because the house will greatly affect this changeable energy. It will give it a more concrete flavor. But just purely Pisces energy is kind of a let go and let God type attitude. And what they're here to do is to develop a relationship with spirit. It could be religious, it could be spiritual, it could be whatever it is, but they are constantly striving to reach spiritual enlightenment. And the way they do that is by taking care of their body, taking care of themselves, but arriving to that space where they can prioritize themselves and their health before others. It's a journey. So this is someone who, in relationships, is willing to make the sacrifices to show up. They are caring, they're empathetic, they are good with emotions. They can sit with you when you are expressing, like, they can see the most terrible behavior and not judge you because they see through to what you are made of, what your soul is, and how much you're struggling. And so Pisces can find themselves in situations with people who are dangerous or the bad boy, and they have this kind of phenomenon. This is true with Pisces men too, where they like the damsel in distress. They like saving somebody. And with women, it's like, well, if I just show up in this way, and if I just do this, then they'll change, and then the bad boy will be saved. The men are like, here's this damsel in distress. I'm going to help her because she needs me. And so that language can exist with a relationship with the sun in Pisces. So being the eldest water sign, they have the qualities and strengths of Cancer and Scorpio, but they're not focused on themselves. They're not specifically focused on one-on-one relationships. They're focused on humanity, the universe, the ethers. They're going as large and as big as you can imagine. They're leaving this plane in so many different ways. And so some deal breakers for a Pisces character is if you judge or if you try and stand in the way of their spiritual development. Now, I said earlier that they are sacrificing when it comes to relationships. This is not one of those areas where they're going to be sacrificing. A developed Pisces, if you are standing in the way of their spiritual journey, they will cut you off, because that is what gives them fuel. That's what keeps them sane. And so if you're not supportive of whatever philosophy, astrology, right before you hello, they're going to be turned off. They're going to think you're closed-minded, and they will feel unaccepted. And what makes that even worse is that they are so accepting that when it's not mirrored back to them, it makes it easier for them to step away. Another thing they don't like is if you're disrespectful to other people, or if you treat other people poorly, specifically people who don't have the same resources that you have. So if you're rude to marginalized groups of people, or if you treat homeless people poorly or as if they're less than, they don't see, or they don't, they see it, but they don't subscribe to like the hierarchy that people are better than others. In their mind, everyone is the same. They're not going to bow to someone because of a specific title. They understand that when you walk out of your workplace, you guys are just humans face to face. And so if you insist that they take on the beliefs and that you subscribe to what the rest of society is doing, they're also going to turn away from you. And similar to that, if you are someone who lives and dies by your schedule, if you just do to do, if you want your day booked from the moment you wake up until the moment you go to sleep, Pisces is going to be repulsed by you in some way, shape, and form, because you're not taking care of yourself. There is no spiritual life there. You're just functioning to function, and you're forgetting to live and to exist. And Pisces needs the flexibility in a schedule, in their day, to go with the flow, because their feelings change. Sometimes inspiration hits them at the most spontaneous time. And if you are like, no, you said you would be here and we have to do this and this and this and this, they're going to feel as if their creativity is being squandered. Like you're taking away something quite precious, and it is precious for them. It's kind of hard to tell when you have reached a deal breaker with Pisces, because they're not so confrontational. Specifically, just Sun in Pisces, all other aspects ignored. They're not confrontational in that way. They don't want to feel uncomfortable. It's more of like a silent, I got it. This is who you are. These are the decisions that you make. And they will just not make time for you, or they won't show up, or they'll cancel last minute. They show that they care with their presence. And so if they continuously reject your opportunity or your bid for attention, it's either that they are avoiding reality in general because they're dealing with something privately that they're probably not explaining to you, or you've just kind of left a sour taste in their mouth and they don't want to spend time with you. But overall, Pisces are really sweet, accepting lovers. And the gift that they bring to you is some kind of like spiritual awakening, or some invitation to go higher, to elevate, to escape this reality that is so prominent and overwhelming. I will say, two fish, opposite directions. Pisces are known, similar to Gemini, they're known to have multiple marriages because they just change quite frequently. And there is this fickle quality and emotional instability, kind of like the ocean, always changing in and out, in and out. There is this quality to them. But that aside, it's not a reflection of you. That aside, when they are there and when they are with you, they want to gift you with whatever they have. That's just the way they are. Virgo and Pisces, sister signs, polar opposites. This is an interesting relationship because even though they are earth and water and there is a harmonious quality to their relationship, they will tend to stay, as it relates to their ego and their sense of self, on opposite sides of the table. So if the earth is in the middle, Pisces will generally see this side and Virgo will see this side. So they're looking at the same thing, but they have complementary views and they have completely different approaches. And they are both mutable signs, which means that they're changeable, they're flexible, they go with the flow, they like to be of service. In fact, that's what they represent in astrology, is the axis of service. Virgo is here to service people on earth, and Pisces is here to be in service to spirit or to people's souls. And so what you tend to see with these people, or this couple, is that they can lose themselves in the relationship. They are both pure-hearted and caring and nurturing and loving in different ways. And so it can be hard for them to keep a sense of self, especially with Pisces. Now, Virgo is represented by Mercury, and so it is more cerebral. It is stimulated by the mind. It's also very up in its head a lot of the time. It has to-do lists and things that it wants to accomplish, and Pisces isn't as organized. And so I think when it comes to decision making, Virgo may take it upon themselves. They may recognize that there's going to be ambivalence between them both, and they will eventually make the call. But it is a very lovely couple. They can also do this really interesting dance where they are both trying to take care of each other at the same time, and neither one of them is being forthcoming about what they need. And so they end up doing what they think the other person wants, and really they're both wrong, and nothing is truly ever accomplished. And so the reason why that happens is neither one of them wants to hurt their partner's feelings. They are compassionate. And I mean, unless you have a more aggressive or assertive moon sign, or if the sun signs, because they're both mutable, fall into a cardinal house or a fixed house, then you have someone with a little bit more backbone. But if we're just talking specifically about the energies, these are two people who don't want to cause harm. And so they will not say, Pisces may not tell Virgo, we're spending a lot of time together. It actually is quite irritating to me that you are folding all my clothes and color coordinating them, and you're planning out my meals. I would like to have a little bit more free form to my day. And Virgo may not communicate that they need to take a break from Pisces, as Pisces is riding the emotional highs and lows. The relationship can feel very destabilized because neither one of them is grounded. And also they mirror each other when they're low functioning. So when Virgo is overstimulated because its to-do list is so long and it's been running around and its nerves are shot, because that's how anxiety shows up for Virgo. It's in the body. They break out into rashes, or they shake a little bit. They're jittery. It's hard for them to fall asleep at night. They are very consumed with tasks. They will resort to Pisces behavior. They will want to have a drink, or they'll want to smoke. They'll want to do something to escape the anxiety. And Pisces will be right there like, oh, perfect. I know exactly what to do. I know exactly where to go. And Virgo, and Pisces will exhibit Virgo behavior when it is destabilized. So being very strict about its diet, striving for perfection, only eating healthy foods, wanting everything to be organized, getting up earlier than later, booking itself from the moment it wakes up until the moment it goes to sleep. And so they can really understand each other across all levels. But again, because neither one of them, all other aspects aside, are stabilized, it can feel like they are a boat on water, just going with the flow. These two are supportive and loving and devoted. That's the word. They will do everything in their power, everything that they know how, to show up for each other. Some problem areas, as we've discussed, is not being stable, merging and becoming one, not knowing where one ends and the other begins. But I think another challenge point is that Virgo likes things to be perfect and orderly, and when they are frazzled, they will explode on Pisces, and they may say some sharp, or they may share some sharp criticisms that could hurt Pisces' feelings. And especially because Pisces doesn't value those things, Pisces can sometimes struggle to hear what they're saying and just feel the effects of, oh, you jerk. Like, why are you so high strung? And in fact, it's not only you jerk, it's Pisces can absorb Virgo's anxiety. And so it's important for them to create space where they can openly talk about ways in which Pisces can be more grounded, because Pisces has a tendency to escape here, specifically because Virgo will allow them to. With sister signs, polar opposite signs, which means that they're sitting directly 180 degrees across the wheel from each other. They are as far away from each other as they can be. These relationships are always interesting, stimulating, and you're constantly being invited to grow and step out of your element. And that's why it's specifically important for this relationship for you guys to be transparent about what you think and what you want and what you need, because you both run the risk of abandoning yourself because of a projection or an idea that you think that your partner has or wants. But that's what I have for you guys. If you would like to book a one-on-one session with me, you can do that at wellandrising.com/services. This is literally the tip of the iceberg, and I would love to sit down and explore everything that is you with you. So, toodles.